Welcome to God with George Ortega. This is episode number 95, and I'm recording it on Thursday, March 4th, 2021 at 12:19 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm feeling good. I took a walk with somebody I like a lot, and it's really nice out. I mean, it's cold out there, but it's a beautiful day. And I'm trying to get less light in here for this. Hold on. So yeah, I just figured I'd do an episode, last episode of this week. And something cool is happening. I'm beginning to kind of not worry or be preoccupied or just, be concerned with what I'm going to talk about each episode. And so that's great. I mean, that's because what I'd like to do. I mean, sometimes I want to, let's say, talk about one aspect of God that I've been thinking about that basically, some kind of theme that I've, been thinking about like that day or for a few days before, or whatever. But I kind of like this format where I don't know what I'm going to say until I start doing the episode, because it's an exercise in waiting for God. And here's a perfect example. Another example. Why is this? There's a lot of light in there. Whatever. All right. I've got one of these 0.7 cubic feet microwaves, and it's an old one, whatever, but I started making some pizzas recently, vegan pizzas. Take the shell. I got these shells, amazing bargain, like at Dollar Tree here in White Plains. Thin shells, thin pizza shells, but for $1 each. You could ShopRite is $4.99 or $3.99, whatever. Anyway, but I need I have these pizzas, and I put some cheese on it, because I'm a vegan, so it's vegan cheese. And for whatever reason, I have to put the pizza in the microwave before I put it in the oven so the cheese melts. Otherwise, because I usually have to take out the pizza after 8-10 minutes, because the crust, the outside crust, begins to turn brown. And so anyway, so I'm thinking that I should probably, and the other thing is sometimes I like to eat really late at night. Last night I went to CVS across the street, because it's open 24 hours, and I got this pint of Kind dark chocolate peanut butter non-dairy ice cream. I mean, it's it tastes just like ice cream, but it's just plant-based. And then I then a heaping teaspoon of baking cocoa powder, with really boiling water, slow boiling water, just make it into a sauce. And then I mixed all that up. Oh, it was so good. It was amazingly good. But with the pizza, it's so I'm making this pizza, and I'm thinking that this pizza, just barely fits, and it actually just rubs against the walls, whatever. Oh, the other part is no, I forgot. So the microwave that I have, it's got this beeper, and again, so I like to eat sometimes really late at night, but I don't like to, I don't know if my neighbors hear it, whatever. They probably don't, whatever. But so I want to look for one that doesn't have a beeper, or not that doesn't have a beeper, but that you can either lower the sound of the beep or even turn it off. So all right. So what's interesting is and this is relative to waiting for God. This is apparently what God wants to talk about, and I didn't know until I started talking. This is how it is usually when we're talking to other people, when we're thinking to ourselves. These thoughts just come into our mind from God, fundamentally. So I was going to say that I was waiting, I was thinking on the ride home actually from that walk, I rode the bicycle to where I met a couple of people, and we went for a walk from there. But on the way back, I'm thinking, I was thinking, like, should I get the microwave? Should I not? And I was undecided. But now, now that I started explaining this now the answer came. Yes, you need one because you don't want that beep late at night. So, all right. So like I had to wait, like half an hour ago, 20 minutes ago, and so basically what I'm trying to say is like, and this is something I'm learning, like, let's say you have a decision you have to make, a difficult decision, or just like a decision where like, you just like are torn. You don't know what to do, right? And sometimes that can feel uncomfortable. But when you take the perspective that, first of all, the answer is coming from God, and God, for whatever reason, is not wanting you to make the decision at that time. Otherwise, God would give you the reasoning, give you the confidence, whatever you need to make the decision, feel good about it. So, so what I'm discovering is that, yeah, when I have a decision about whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, like, should I do this? Should I not do this? I say to myself, well, it's just not time to make that decision. And invariably, most of the time, sometime afterward, sometimes it's a day or two, whatever, the answer will come to me, which is a kind of cool way. And again, it's like God deciding that, like, all right, I don't want you to like decide this now. I want to decide this, some other time. Ooh, what, you like this cup? Be the change you wish to see in the world, Gandhi. Yeah, I don't, I should use this more often. So God, all right. I was, when I was in the kitchen, and I'm on a diet because, like, you know, God has had my life going really well recently. And when it's going well, I celebrate a lot with the vegan ice cream and the pizzas. I just started making these like vegan pizzas, maybe a few weeks ago. And so, like, it's because of this, because I'm cooking all this, really good food now, I've gone from like 153 to 62. I weighed myself this morning. So I'm on a diet. The body is the temple of the Lord. I mean, like, you gotta be healthy. And I like being thin, slender. 153 is, I like that weight. So anyway, I gotta, like, and by saying this, when we say stuff either to ourselves, to other people, to God, it just helps us to follow through with our intentions. So, and I'm pretty good, like, so I've done this before, sometimes I just won't eat, entire day, lose a few pounds. I mean, it works. It's good. All right. So God, yeah, on the way here, God was suggesting that I talk about God's female nature. But I talked about that before recently, just, I mean, the basic gist of it is that I like to see God as a female because I'm a guy. And I think it's easier for a guy to love God when we see, I mean, hetero guys, I don't know if maybe it's different for gay guys, I don't know. But like, for me, conceptualizing God as a woman makes it easier for me to love God, which is cool. But she doesn't want me to talk about that too much right now, because that's what she told me. I mean, like, so, I mean, I could go to the cheat sheet, but I don't like that term. I mean, it's an interesting term, but because, like, it's not really cheating. It's like, sometimes people say, oh, can I steal this from you? I said, no, you can borrow it. You can have it, but you can't steal it. What's the matter with you? All right. So what are we, all right, God. God has been having my life go really well recently. And I mean, I don't think it's an accident. This is episode number 95. And I think I've been pretty good about staying on God as the topic. You know, more recently I've been like meandering, just like, but I think that's fine. I think, you know, with these meanderings, I eventually usually pull it back to God, or just like give it some kind of, oh, I know what I want to talk about. It's not so much about God, but like I mentioned the 48 ways to wisdom, so I just started listening to them. There's actually 50 ways, but they call it the 48 ways. So like, you know, I started with 50 and now I'm at 47. I'm going backwards. I don't know why, but this guy is so good. You know, again, in Brooklyn accent, he's teaching in Jerusalem, Noah Weinberg. He's a mensch and he's smart, he's wise. And so like I'm learning a lot. And so like, but what was he saying about God? He talks about God a lot. All right, see, all right, here's another thing. I mean, this is good. Like, so I'm floundering a little right now. You know, I don't know, you know, God is not feeding me God thoughts. God is feeding me like this other stuff. And you know, like my intention, God is having me intend to talk about her, but she's not feeding me thoughts about her. So now here's some evolution on my part, some progress. Basically, you know, in the past, I would, that'd be uncomfortable, you know, oh, I'm saying, you know, but more recently, I'm thinking to myself, hey, just go with it, you know, just relax, you know, just wait for the thoughts to come. And if they don't come, you can blame God. Okay, it's God's fault. That's one, you know, let's talk about this. All right, we've got a theme. You know, there are so many advantages to understanding that we don't have a free will. You know, first, it's not, you know, the belief in free will is a delusion. It is a powerful delusion. It's kind of like believing that the earth is flat, or that the world is 6,000 years old, you know. So like, yeah, so the belief in free will is a delusion. But, you know, that's just the beginning. I mean, like, for example, a lot of times we don't like to face our failings, our limitations, like floundering on this show, you know, waiting for God to feed me. So like, and it's uncomfortable, you know. So like when we shift our perspective to like, well, you know, I've got a free will and I'm of a free will, just, you know, I'm clueless. I don't know what I'm talking about right now. And rather than doing that, I reflect on the truth, which is like God, for whatever reason, is not feeding me material the way, interestingly, God is wanting me to receive that material, which is, you know, it gets a bit surreal. But you know, attributing it to God, number one, takes the onus and the burden and the blame off me. You know, this is God's call. You know, it's not, you know, if I'm floundering, it's God that's making me flounder. Now, that isn't everything. Was like, you know, you can't say, you know, in other words, like, we still try to do what's good, what's right, because, like, for example, sometimes God will make us flounder. Sometimes God will punish us for floundering or for doing something else that we shouldn't be doing, that God made us do, which isn't fair, but, you know, you can't really complain. I mean, God gives us so many blessings. If God's going to, like, you know, whatever. But, and I have a feeling that as we evolve as a species, we're going to be doing less and less evil, and God is going to be making us do that, and we'll be doing much more good, and our world will be so much better. But so, yeah, so like, and another part of benefit of accurately attributing all of our thoughts to God is that I personally, I think most people who believe in God would trust God's judgments on what comes into our minds, for example, more so than if, you know, than a free will, you know. I mean, like, because like we as individuals, you know, we have a very limited database of knowledge. Our intelligence is limited relative to God's. And so our wisdom is limited. So like, you know, basically this part of it, benefit is about acknowledging that, you know, we're better off having God feed us our thoughts, because like God is going to give us better thoughts than if we had a free will. Okay. And now God has me saying, to myself, well, I don't want to talk about free will. I mean, I am on a 12-year, this is a 12-year initiative. I started this in 2010 in April, a meetup group. I've led dozens and dozens and dozens of discussions on free will in Manhattan and here in White Plains. A TV show with 216 episodes that I did here in White Plains, another TV show that I did in Manhattan, must have been about 75 episodes. It was a live call-in show on my Manhattan cable. And I got a bunch of guys together on Skype, I believe we were, and we did a podcast about 210, 16 episodes. I don't know, it was about same as the video series. And then the website and 3 books, and more recently this screenplay that I feel so determined to get the financing for it. It's like, I believe in it. And so yeah, and to tie it to God, it's because like, Abraham introduced us to God, Moses introduced us to the law of God, and now I am apparently introducing us to the will of God. I'm not the first. Abraham wasn't the first monotheist. There was like a pharaoh, Akhenaten, I believe, who had this like sun god that was the only god. And Moses' law wasn't the first law. There was a code of Hammurabi, but within the Jewish tradition, we have our understanding of God has evolved. And so, yes, I'm spearheading this initiative to awaken the world to the reality that God, being all powerful and omniscient, all knowing and omnipresent, controls everything. That God's will is what makes everything that happened happen. And so, if you don't believe that, you're not going to believe that my just saying it like that. I know that from experience, but I'm thinking, yeah, once this film gets made, God willing, because it's God's call. It could be a really, again, this guy John Searle referred to the world, the prospect of the world understanding the free will is an illusion, as the quote unquote biggest revolution in human thinking, a greater revolution in human thinking than Einstein or Copernicus or Galileo or Newton or Darwin. Would alter our whole conception of our relation with the universe, unquote. And so that's how big this is. So, all right, we've got like, this is great. So like, I'm really, again, we have so much to be thankful for. Again, we got to thank God. So like, I'm thanking God. I'm feeling very grateful that God is apparently having me get over this fear of floundering on these episodes. If I flounder, I flounder. Again, I'll blame God. And think about it. Like, don't we credit God if we do something good? An athlete wins an Olympic gold medal. He's interviewed. Well, I want to thank God for my talent. I couldn't do this without God. No, they're right. And like this isn't just one athlete. So many athletes say that. And they know that, like, if they can run faster than others and jump higher and pitch better, throw basketball better, whatever, it is a gift from God. Even the tenacity, the persistence, all the work to get that good, those are all gifts from God, which is very cool. So, what my point is, like, we blame, we give God credit for the good. So if we give God credit for the good, doesn't it stand to reason we should blame God for the bad? Yes. And then now, all right, I guess this is our theme, we're going to tell you. So now it's not, I don't like to blame God. I don't mind giving God all the credit because that feels good, but I don't like to blame God. So here's how I absolve God. I've mentioned this before. It's not a completely satisfying absolution, but it kind of works. It's like, to blame God for the let's say the evil in this world, the pain and suffering, within the context of causality, of cause and effect, we would have to reach a point in time where God decided, you know, to, you know, have a certain evil or punishment be fated. You know, at a certain point in time, God decided to have me stub my toe. You know, I'm walking around in the dark, not being careful. God punishes me for my carelessness by having me stub my toe. Okay, and so like, let's say God decided that the moment God created the Big Bang, almost 14 billion years ago. But see, it doesn't end there because God is eternal. God's just not all powerful, all knowing. God is eternal. God has always been. So what does that mean? That means that like, you can never get back, because like there was like, God is subject to God's causality also. In other words, like, let's say the reason there was a cause to God right before the Big Bang, creating the Big Bang, deciding that, you know, in 19 whatever or 2000 whatever I would stub my toe. You know, there was a cause to that, and so like, and there's a cause to that cause and a cause to that cause. So what I'm saying is like this causal regression, this infinite causal regression, perhaps more accurately termed eternal causal regression, means you can never get to a point where you can say, well, this is, you know, God decided to make this happen. Again, it's not a complete absolution of God, but and the other thing is like, you know, I don't think God cares whether we blame him or not. I mean, you know, he wants us, like, let's say, all right, that stubbing toe thing, right? So I mean, God, if we want to blame God for that, I think it's fine. But I think that what God wants us to understand is that, like, you know, I'm punishing you because I want to teach you something. I want to teach you something that you can use, something you can learn from and become a better person from, just like a parent, you know? So it is good to see God in that way. Yeah, you blame him for the stuff because that's the truth, but then you also know that God loves us and you know, is very, very invested, you know, every moment of every day in our well-being, our happiness. All right, we got about 5 minutes left. I've been playing a lot of bass guitar. God is making me good. I'm psyched. Yeah, I'm thinking like the plan. So like, you know, God has me thinking that by the time we are not wearing masks anymore, which may be September, you know, maybe October, I don't know, I may be good enough at bass guitar to be a studio musician, to, like, you know, just make some demos, put them out there. And so what God did actually, you know, I struggle with what kind of genre of music I want to play. You know, I like classic rock, but it, you know, it's like, it's old. I mean, like, I like new music. I like Colby Kalat. She's really awesome. But, you know, sometimes like popular music isn't all that interesting. If we go to progressive rock again, like Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, yes, you know, it's really interesting music, but sometimes it's not, it's a bit decadent sometimes, you know. Floyd can be, you know, dark, depressing. So anyway, so God apparently has me, as of actually last night, I learned about this music several years ago from a friend that I met online. And it's called new gaze or shoegaze. It was initially shoegaze, and it morphed into new gaze. And the way they got that name is like, you'd have these guitarists with their effects. You know, it was a lot about effects, and they're just like standing on a stage, motionless, looking down at this effects box on the floor by their shoes. It's kind of like they're gazing at it. I don't know why, because, like, you know, I haven't worked with those effects. But anyway, the music is kind of like hypnotic. It's kind of like, and it's very soft vocals. You can't really make out what they're saying often because like they turn down the volume on the vocals and you know, it's really about this wall of sound. A lot of songs, and then it has like a kind of like a dance beat, a fast beat that counters the more slow kind of melodies. It's very cool music. So anyway, I think God may have me you know, select that as my primary genre, which means then I got to like go look for you know, new gaze, shoegaze bands and say, hey, you know, like I just downloaded your track and I added a bass line to it, you know, check it out if you want, you know. So yeah, I mean, like that would be fun. That'd be cool. All right, so what else about God? Yeah, it's to, when I meditate, I've been meditating a lot recently, you know, 4 or 5 hours a day, sometimes 6, 7. And when I meditate a lot, you know, I find that that's when I listen to God the most, you know, because these thoughts are coming, you know, again, your meditation is I'm focusing on my body sensations, for example, you know, body scan. And then like, you know, the meditation gets interrupted by these trains of thought. And these trains of thought are kind of like, in my experience, much closer to God than trains of thought that I would have, let's say, if I'm just walking down a sidewalk or not meditating. So, so that's cool. All right, so, you know, I'm going to record another episode on Sunday. You know, again, like Andy, I had to can Andy. I'm sorry, like you can't be on this show and believe that evolution is not the way things happened. You know, I told him it's a dangerous belief because like when you do that, then you kind of like discredit science and scientists, and that leads to climate change denial. That leads to people not wearing masks, leads to pandemics. So anyway, so like, but Josh, you know, he's on sabbatical still. He may, you know, co-host the show with me again. I have to see. But I'm enjoying doing this on my own. All right, I got 30 seconds. Catch this every Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock on White Plains Community Media, channel 76. We get Optimum, 45, we get Verizon. And the episodes are also on YouTube. So I hope you enjoyed this. And God willing, I'll do a lot more episodes, and we will slowly but surely, you know, episode by episode, understand the nature of God. Have a great day.